Beyond Synth, Season 7 sequence commencing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey there, welcome to the show! How's it going, everybody? This is episode 189 of Beyond Synth, and I am your host, Andy Last. Today on the program, I am chatting with Duett and Stewart Lockwood. So I had Duett on the show last season, and that was a good one, and Duett is really cool music. Duett is really cool music, but obviously some of my favorite Duett tracks are the ones that Stewart sings on, and I thought it'd be fun to get to know him too, and so we'll have both on, and so that's what we're gonna do later in the show. In the meantime, I'm trying to clear up my messages because all my email folders from all my different social media accounts have all these things and all these messages, and I thought maybe I'd read some of them today and clean up the accounts. Maybe I can get Mike to send me a jingle for the clean up the accounts. Anyway, whatever. Look, let's listen to some cool music, get this show started, and we'll acknowledge some awesome Beyond Synth supporters. Of course, there's Jimpy, and what has that wacky lad done this week? Well, I'll tell you what he's done. Drum roll. I can't be bothered to dub in a drum roll. Well, look, Jimpy has upgraded his support. In about 100 years, Jimpy will be personally responsible for my purchasing of a home, a small, modest house somewhere in a small town, and it will all be because of Jimpy, and we'll call it Casa Jimpy. Is it Casa? Mi casa, su casa, yeah. And, well, looky what we have here. Rachel Buchelman has upgraded her support. I feel like I haven't heard from you guys lately. The Buchelman sisters. Oh no, you were there when I did the live stream with Parallels and Dana Jean and Mecha Mako. See, I'm paying attention. Anyway, look, Rachel Buchelman is a cool lady, and she's now in the 1985 club. She's queen of the 1985 club. How about that? All right, look, let's listen to some cool music. This one was just released a few days ago by ADRYELLE. Of course, you know, I just had ADRYELLE on the show a few weeks ago, so if you want to go back a few episodes and go, who is this lady? Although, mind you, most of that episode was... I took up like 5 minutes being confused about tea. But hey man, that's what this show is all about. So this is a fun track. This is Spirit Skin featuring David Rogers. I think he produced the track. And this is ADRYELLE.
Sunshine's on, your glitter paint, your dress is blue, you're smiling too, but this is the authentic you, pressure's on.
And that was ADRYELLE with the track Spirit Skin, featuring David Rogers, and that is a catchy track, and I dig it. And again, like I said, she was on a few weeks ago, so if you want to get to know ADRYELLE, you can go back and listen to that show. And that was brought to you by my awesome Patreon supporters, the king of the Pattersons, Chris Dance. Hope your week treated you well. And then, of course, there's William Stewart, 69, and Jose Arbello, 66, Satan. That you guys are all really cool. So how about we go through and read some mail here. So this was a letter from Dane M. Cox. Says, Andy, I fucking love your show. Surprise, I didn't find your show searching for Droid Bishop, but those are some damn good shows. Says, you have made a community, I fucking dig it. Keep up the good work. I think you're a cool dude. Fuck yeah, keep it up. Well, thanks, Dane M. Cox. You're a cool guy. He also says, I've listened to most of your podcasts and really only missing some of the older ones, and I think your family shows are hilarious. Well, thanks, Dane. Yeah, those are fun to do, man. Those are the ones with Marco and Mike and Florence. He says, I was wondering if you ever tried to get in touch with Daniel Deluxe. He's a pretty cool guy. I hung out with him a bit when I saw Dance with the Dead in Denver. He also has a track called Darkness where he samples, you guessed it, Darkness from Legend. I'm guessing this is all stuff you know, but just in case, keep up the good work. I will, Dane M. Cox, assuming what I do is good work, and thank you for listening to the show. Yeah, Daniel Deluxe makes cool music, and maybe one of these days he'll be on the show. I like to say that with everybody, because that's the truth. So, yeah, man, I'm going to press the green check mark, which means I have read that letter. So look, how about we listen to some more music? Here's a cool one from Honeybeard. I dig Honeybeard. This track was from their first album called Dreamless Sleep. I think they're going to be doing an album for Retro Reverb Records in the future, so they're working on some cool synthwave stuff. But I want to play Dreamless Sleep, which was the title song from the Dreamless Sleep album. And this, of course, is brought to you by my awesome Patreon supporters, L.A. Arson, Jacob Wick, and City Hunter. I say again, L.A. Arson. Go check out that dude on Bandcamp. And Mr. Jacob Wick and Mr. City Hunter. All right, so let's listen to this awesome song. This is Honeybeard with Dreamless Sleep.
No
And that was Dreamless Sleep by Honeybeard. Go check that out. And that was brought to you by my awesome, my PayPals. You know who you are, Mr. DevJock, who's been telling me to add another field to the Beyond Synth music database, which maybe I'll get to at some point. You know, because some artists allow their music to be played if people are Twitch streamers and stuff like that, and DevJock thinks it would be a cool idea to add a checkmark field to the Beyond Synth database that indicates free streaming use of music. Now, while this is a nice idea, I will never have time to do this, so maybe in the future if I get some people offering their time, because literally I would need to survey about 750 artists and find out if they allow for free streaming of their music, and then add another field to the database. And then what do you do if someone offers streaming for some of their music? Does that still get a check mark? Or does that need a different field? Or does there need to be a symbol that indicates all use service streaming? All use? All... Anyways, look, what am I doing? I'm thanking my awesome PayPals, like Replicant69, and then there's Rob Dyson and Digital Dreams, and the Rosconian, and Jimmy Groon, and Anthony Anselmo, and Deepak Ganger, and Victor Roy, and Angelo Taylor. Man, you guys are all the best. You might be sitting there in the audience right now going, who the hell are the PayPals? Well, if you support Beyond Synth through Patreon, you can go to the Patreon at patreon.com/BeyondSynth. But some people are like, hey man, I just want to give a one-time donation, or I don't like Patreon or whatever. For those people, if you just go to beyondsynth.com, there's also a PayPal option as well to support the show. And that is a cool thing to do. Let's read another email. Let's read another message. Here's a nice quick one from JenBad47. She says, my fiance's abuela is nicknamed Dinks, and now I think of penis when I think of her. Thanks, Andy. I'm not going to apologize for that. What is an abuela? Is that like a grandma or something? Hold on, let's do a little research. Abuela is a grandma. See, I got it. Perfect. Now, I'm not sure. Her nickname is Dinks? Your fiance's grandma's nickname is Dinks. It is one of my favorite words, so I guess his abuela sounds like a pretty cool lady. All right, look, let's listen to some more music. And don't forget, man, Duet's coming up in just a bit. It's all good. This is one from Hunter Complex. Hunter Complex from the album Open Sea. This one's cool. This is kind of like movie score kind of stuff that I dig. And this track's called Crows Zero. Brought to you by my awesome Patreon supporters. There's Lucas Ceballos with the 2666. Oh, by the way, Lucas, before we get carried away, Lucas requested that we listen to Running Scared by Duett. Now, hopefully, Lucas, this satisfies your request, because obviously we do listen to that track later in the show, because since Stewart's here, I wanted to talk to him about it. So I'm saying that counts as your request. Even though we technically would have listened to the song anyways because they were on the show. But I'm hereby checking the box saying that I have satisfied your request. And in the $25 club, there's Clint Dowling, Honeybeard, and Eric Dahlberg. Hey, Honeybeard, we just heard a song by them. What a coincidence! Ha ha ha! Anyways, look, here's an awesome song. This is Hunter Complex with Crows Zero. And that was Crow's Zero by Hunter Complex. Brought to you by my awesome Patreon supporters in the $25 club, Tim Carlton, Johnny Five, and Emilio Estevez. You guys are all cool. All right, let's read another message here. This was some mail from someone called Jetstream. Says, your first CD was fucking music for the masses? I just want to drop you a note that what you do is awesome. Games are impossibly hard to make at an indie level, but I'm so inspired by listening to your interviews. Synth is so visual. I'm working on a concept where the songs drive the narrative and express visually on screen. In my fantasy land, you and Aaron Velling, that's fucking Velingo, help me curate the game soundtrack that drives the game story. The game is years from being playable. The prototype has some cool tracks from bands like Makeup and Vanity Set. In Beyond Synth fashion, I'm just rambling. My goal now is to support your show, and maybe someday we can chat about my music-based adventure game called ... because it doesn't have a name yet. Thanks for reading this nonsense, Jetstream. Well, thank you, Jetstream, for writing into the show. I hope your game gets made, and one of these days maybe we can talk about it on the show. But his point is valid, you know. Obviously the synthwave is very inspiring stuff, and it's cool to make things with that kind of music. So, hey man, do the do, get it done. I've got several video game ideas myself that I would love to make one of these days, but I am not technically proficient in game design, and I would be bad at doing that. Here's a message from Red M. Red M says, hi, I was listening to your podcast when you still had only like 200 followers on SoundCloud. I just logged in today to check on your show, and I'm very glad to see you have grown as much as you have since then. Congrats! Just wanted to let you know that what you're doing is appreciated. Well, thank you, Red M. You are a cool guy. All right. This is fun. I feel like I'm doing stuff. How about this? Let's listen to some more music. This one is, there's a bunch of people. It's Lunar 1982 and Shy Guys featuring George Ergum-Lids. It's going to be brought to you by my awesome Patreon supporters. In the $25 club, it's Pattern Shift. Go check out Pattern Shift's music. And Chris Williams and Kempson. Hey, Kempson Games. Used to be Kempson Games, right? Are you still making games? Let me know, man. Maybe you can give that other dude advice, Mr. Jetstream. And of course, you guys are all awesome Patreon supporters, and I appreciate it. Now, let's listen to this track. This is Lunar 1982 and Shy Guys with November Is Mine, featuring George Ergum-Lids.
November is mine. I don't need your maze, rainy nights. November is mine. Just deal with it. Remember it's
And that was November Is Mine, featuring George Ergomlids. And that was by Lunar 1982 and Shy Guys. And that was brought to you by my awesome Patreon supporters in the $25 club. There's Joey and Kendra, Martin Larby, who just got stuck in the subway and then sent me a picture because he ordered a shirt from beyondsynth.com. There is a store there with some merch. Several of you have ordered stuff. Now, I don't control the store, so I don't exactly know what happens, but he ordered a sweater and it was taking a long time to get to him, but I checked and it's still in Compton somewhere. So if you ordered the sweater, there's a sweater Beyond Synth. Maybe it takes longer to get to places than the t-shirt does. We're all learning all of this at the same time. But, here's a request. If any of you have ordered Beyond Synth merch off the website, please take a picture of yourself with the stuff so I can share it on the social media accounts and stuff like that, because I like to have that happen. What? And what else? It's also brought to you by my other awesome Patreon supporter, Gregorio Franco. Gregorio Franco just got himself a new tattoo and then went to work in pain like a fool. So let's read another message here. This one's from Shadow Skyhawk. Says, hello, I do not know if you reply to these, but I've listened to half of your podcast and the music you play, which is amazing work. I'm trying to get started into making my own synthwave, retrowave type of music, but I just don't know how. Maybe you could give me some pointers if that's okay. So I did write back to this dude, but basically, there's lots of tutorials on the web for building tracks and stuff. So if you listen and you want to sort of get into doing synthwave, I would personally recommend FL Studio as a program, a DAW, a digital audio workstation. That's the one I used when I was younger, and I still occasionally tinker with it. And I find that its interface is easy to understand. I think that's why I like it. It's a good entry point. It's also cheaper than some of the other options. And the cool thing with Final Cut is once you buy it, you just they just send you free updates. So for example, I think I bought Final Cut. I think I bought FL Studio, in like 2010 or 11 or something, you know what I mean? Like that's when I paid for it. Before then I was using like demos and cracked versions and stuff. And ever since then I still get emails, like every few months saying, hey, there's like version 20's out now and it's free to download if you have an account with them. So I'd recommend that, and then just check out some tutorials. And also don't just watch a synthwave tutorial and like copy what they're doing. Check out anyone working with Fruity Loops, making all sorts of different types of music, because the important thing, it's not just going like, here's how you make an arpeggiated note or whatever. Like, it's also important to understand song structure as well. A lot of the people who send me music when they get started, and if it's not necessarily stuff I play on the show, it's because you still need to understand like music theory a bit. And there's tons of people online who give tutorials about that stuff, about chord progressions and things like this. And it's important to know all of that stuff, not just the technical, like how to put the notes on the, into the thing and actually like create a sound. It's also important you understand how music works. And there's so many tutorials online, honestly. There's more than enough info out there to get started. But the reason why I talk about song structure is because a lot of people will just send me music where it's like they do an arpeggiator, which is, you like hold one button down and then it plays a bunch of notes. And I love those. Like, I love those bass lines when they're like do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And then they'll just do that with a beat, for like 4 minutes and go check out my track. And like, yeah, but it's not like a song necessarily. This is just like an arpeggioed note and a beat. Like, that's not a song, that's something. But so learn some song theory too. That's what I'd say. But it's all on YouTube, man. It's all there. Even Arcade High actually has a series of tutorials as well you might want to check out. So do it. Make some music. I obviously want people to go out there and make tunes. It makes my job easier when people actually are good at music and just send me good music. That's the best. That's the best thing there is when that happens. Anyway, let's listen to some music. Here's a nice one from Fragrance, although technically he's French, so it's Fragrance. I'm sorry. This is a track from Fragrance from the album Now That I'm Real, and this is brought to you by my awesome Patreon supporters in the $25 club, Blake Peterson and Mike Shima. Of course, Rachel Buchelman, who was upgraded to the 1985, just edging out Murat by 1 cent. So there's like a competition going on. This is a lot of fun. And of course there's Hampus ML and Ken Giroux and Chatterack, and we will never forget the immortal Chris Lane. And now let's listen listen to this song by Fragrance. This is At Last, featuring Maya Postepsky. And that was At Last, featuring Maya Postepsky. I hope that's how you say that, Maya Postepsky, by Fragrance. And that's a nice song. I dig it. Remember, if you like the tunes you hear on the show, check out the artists. All the links, if you listen to the show on SoundCloud, all the links are in the More Info button. If you're one of those people, one of the 8 people who actually watches these on YouTube when I post them, the links are there as well. And please support the artists. That's the point. And of course, you can also support this show on Patreon or by going to beyondsynth.com and clicking the donate button. And now, let us go to my conversation with Duett and Stewart Lockwood. I should point out, because as I was listening again when I was editing the show, there is a point where Stewart tells a story of an extreme stage fright he had, and I laugh. And when I listened back, I was like, wait a second. Do I sound like a complete asshole because I'm laughing at a story about stage fright that is an embarrassing story? So I just need to preface this with, although I do clarify later in the show, when it actually happens, but the reason why I laughed was because I have anxiety. I used to have really bad panic attacks. I mean, the last one I had, which was like maybe like 10 years ago, literally crippled me for like a week. So when other people tell stories of anxiety or panic or nervousness, I laugh because I associate with them. And so it's funny to me when people, you know, when someone says something and you totally understand what they're talking about, when that happens, I laugh. Because it's like, hey, I found another sort of kindred panicky person. Do you know what I mean? And so that's why. So if it comes across like I'm being a jerk, that wasn't that wasn't my intention. It's like literally, I was like, I totally understand what you're talking about because I've had crippling anxiety and panic. So that's that. Anyways, look, let's go chat with Duett and Stewart Lockwood. All right, well, we're here with a return of Duett and special guest, Mr. Stewart Lockwood. How's it going, guys?
All good. How you doing?
Very well, yes. Hello.
Good. So let's let the audience sort of isolate each of your voices.
Because we got such different English voices.
So where is Duett?
Where are we now?
No, I mean, well...
Where are we physically or emotionally or?
I'm not good at hosting a show. That was your cue to say hello so we can isolate you.
Hello, I'm Duett. Welcome.
And I'm Stewart Lockwood.
Well, this is going to be difficult.
I know, we sound exactly the same on the mic. I just thought that. One of us could maybe do an accent.
Shall I do an accent?
Well, Stuart's an actor, so we'll get him to do the different accent maybe.
I can do that.
So look, since you were here last,
Yeah.
was maybe a few months before you released Cycles.
Yeah, that was right, yeah.
So we talked a lot about, obviously, the catalog of music before that point.
Yeah.
So today, since Stewart is here, we will backtrack just a bit to, obviously, the songs that Stewart sings on. So we'll talk about those again, and then we'll talk about some tracks from Cycles.
Cool.
And that's how we'll round this out. So there'll be a little bit of old, a little bit of new.
Cool.
Yeah, I think so. It's the coolest thing I've ever done.
Yeah, I'd meant that as well. I wasn't just going cool.
He did. He did mean it.
I did mean it.
I could see it in his face.
I'm just laughing because this literally could be me talking to one person who is pretending to be two people.
I've got two puppets on each hand. I've got a puppet on each hand to do the voices.
See, I wish I could see the puppets.
Those McDonald's puppets. Do you remember those McDonald's puppets? They were just like plastic gloves.
Is this an 80s reference?
And they had Ronald McDonald.
I don't remember that.
Maybe I just dreamt that. Like a strange nightmare.
Yeah.
Sorry, this isn't good podcasting, is it?
No, and I just love the idea of me trying to fucking decipher the two of you.
Shall I talk lower? Shall I talk lower and then Ben?
Stuart can sing every answer.
I like that. So how about this? Like, before I say anything, like, I want to be known like, so how do you feel about Mortal Kombat, Ben?
Yeah.
And then Ben can say how he feels about Mortal Kombat, and then we can move on.
Ben can say, finish him.
So here's what we're going to do. Let's start out getting to know Stewart Lockwood.
Okay.
I did no research. You didn't really have much of like an online sort of presence anyways, really.
A web presence.
Yeah, do you spend a lot of time on the internet?
I don't really, no. I try and keep away from the World Wide Web in many ways.
I bet you that makes you a healthier person.
I hope so. Yeah, I don't know what else I'd do.
Well, you got to start making some shit up.
A lot of Lego. I do a lot of Lego.
Lego's good. We can talk about Lego.
Yeah, but try and keep away from the World Wide Web. It traps you, doesn't it? It's like a snare.
You know, like everyone's really mad every day about something.
Yeah.
And then like a day later, no one cares anymore. And it's just this constant barrage of shit. And it makes you feel bad. Like, I don't see it as positive at all.
Yes. Maybe it's a good thing that these people are getting this stuff out of their system, though, no?
Well, but it's probably just good for them.
Because they could be like kicking pigeons or something instead.
I wonder what would be better.
It's a terrible example.
That's the new song title, by the way.
That's an interesting concept, right? Obviously, we know it feels good to sort of be honest and to express yourself and get your feelings out there. But if you doing that causes more harm in the world,
yes,
like the expulsion of your negativity causes a global negativity, and you're just like, well, I feel good because I got to yell at Liam Neeson or whatever, and then like everyone else is like, yeah, but now we all feel like shit. So fuck you.
True. Yeah.
So who knows, man?
I definitely think I go through a period where I go, right, I'm not going on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or anything for like a few days or whatever. And it definitely makes you feel better if you don't do it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it just does. I mean, only because you get to the point where you got to do it because you've got all your things you've got to do with posting about stuff and everything. But if you just don't check it at all and you don't really know what's going on, you can really kind of like get on with your life.
Twitter, I've stopped caring about. So a few years ago, I did that thing where I was like trying to build up my Twitter following and stuff.
Yeah.
And now I care so little about Twitter. Like, to me, it's a fucking pool of negativity. Like, I'll still go on it, but only to have someone says something nice on Twitter to me and I'll respond to them. But I don't say anything anymore really on there. Like, it's just to post the show. Instagram, I like better. I think Instagram's my favorite right now.
Yeah, me too.
It's just pictures. You know, everyone I follow, they're all musicians in the synthwave scene and stuff. So it's all just Patrick Nagel ripoff paintings and pictures of futuristic buildings and samples of people's music. I'm like, that's fine. Like ladies in those thong things. What do you call those? Like the spandex workout outfits where the ladies have the thong?
Well, I don't know why I'm looking at you, Stuart.
Because I'm an expert.
He's wearing one now.
Yes. Is it a leotard?
I guess. And now that I think about it, we probably talked about this last time because we got on this big tangent about 80s commercials and there's no way.
We always talk about leotards.
Yeah, well, they're fun. Well, how about this? Let's listen to a song and then we'll talk about it and we're going to get the other side of the story. So obviously we did listen to this one last time Ben was on the show.
Yeah.
But now we're going to get the Stewart Lockwood side because this song is awesome. So I should explain to the audience that you sing on some of Duett's tracks.
I do, yes.
That's the setup, and then we'll listen because obviously, like you've collaborated. Fuck me. You've
It's
collaborated.
okay. It's a new word. We've all learned something. It's collaboration with jelly.
Yeah.
With Jello. Do you say Jello in Canada?
Well, we've got both, right?
Really?
Jello and jelly are different things. Because Jello,
okay.
right? You know, the product that was pitched
Yes.
by hilarious comedian Bill Cosby, who's done no wrong.
Uh-oh.
What? Sorry? And he used to... Is he in jail now? He is in jail, right?
Yeah.
For being like the world's most notorious serial rapist. Anyway, he used to promote Jello. And it was Jello pudding pops, because that was the thing. It's like, the pudding pops! And I've never even tried to do an impression of that guy before.
It was good, don't worry.
Anyway, so the point is, so Jello is one product, right? That's the stuff it's like colored jiggly stuff. And then jelly is the stuff you put on like a sandwich.
Oh, yes, of course. That's a good segue into the
One of their tracks,
the Duett track.
Yeah, this one's called Running Scared.
Running Jello.
My mind is going to very dark places now and humor that people will not appreciate.
Is this a family show?
No, not at all. No.
Dropping the F-bomb.
Yeah, sorry, I swear a lot. Does that offend you?
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Anyway, so this song is awesome. This is Running Scared by Duett featuring Stewart Lockwood. And that was Running Scared, featuring Stewart Lockwood by Duett. And we're here today with Duett, Ben, and Stewart Lockwood.
Hello.
Hi.
I will never know.
All one of us.
Yeah, so Stewart, we'll talk to you about this because it's a lovely song. You've got a lovely voice.
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you.
Do you sing? Like, is there something you do for fun or you like it?
I do sing. I started at school, I guess, in musicals, in really amateurish musicals, and then was in a couple of bands in my 20s. And then I stopped because we would gig and I would be petrified, basically. I think I was a really scared front man, and I think I made the audience really uncomfortable. You know, when you go and see an act and someone in the band, the front man's so scared that you kind of feel for them. That's what I was doing.
What characteristics did you... Like, were you looking at the floor? Was your voice shaky? Like,
yeah, I remember one gig where I just fell on the floor and went into the fetal position because that's true. I just got the fear of people looking at me and judging me.
Did people perceive it like you were doing some sort of like emo sort of thing, like The Cure, like you're laying down and singing, or did you just actually lay down and not sing?
I lay down and didn't sing, but people couldn't see me, so people would just thought, what's he doing? Has he collapsed, or what on earth is he doing?
Was that like right at the start of the show?
No, it was in the middle of, it's like third song in, I think. And then I kind of pulled myself together and thought, people are paid to see you.
Did they just think then it was some sort of performance art then?
I don't know what they thought. God knows what they thought. So basically I stopped after that. And the band was like a metal band. So
I love this story.
And we would do the last song of each set. We had a song that would segue into a popular song. So we did Destiny's Child. And I remember one gig we did Paradise City by Guns N' Roses, and it went horribly wrong. And when you murder a popular song like that, it's tough psychologically to come back from that. So I stopped and I pursued acting because, of course, that's better for someone's nerves if they're self-conscious. And then I didn't really sing again until Ben approached me with his backing tracks, his demo tapes.
And I did that because everyone said Stewart could sing. I'd not heard Stewart sing. Everyone went, I think Stewart can sing. I've heard him sing. And then we liked the same sort of music, so I'd sent him these backing tracks, and then when he sent them back with him sort of singing into his phone, like voice notes, just singing, I was like, right, yeah, he can sing.
But I resisted for ages, didn't I? You would keep sending me stuff, and I just, in all honesty, I thought, I can't add anything meaningful to this because I can't read music or play anything at all. I have no musical method background. Is that a word, method background? I can't read music or play anything, basically. So I thought, what can I add to this? But when he sent me the backing for Running Scared, for some reason, I put it on and I immediately sang what's close to what actually came out. And I thought I have to send him this idea. I felt compelled in a strange way. So I just put it on like a dictaphone and sent it to him, and was remember being very red-faced as I sent it to him because I thought, he's going to think this is garbage.
And I did. And no, I mean, that's when you send it back. And then I think I immediately said to Stewart, you've got to come in and sing this.
Yeah, I thought it was a joke.
I think you pretty much sang that in one take as well. I think it was just like, bang, sang it through, went home, that was it. It just seemed to work, that one.
Yeah, so that's what happened.
Well, it's a lovely track.
Thank you.
Here you are thinking that you couldn't add anything, and you've elevated this beautiful piece of music. I know when I'm sincere, I sound like I'm joking, but like I've listened to that song a shitload of times. It's really good. I love when there's just these catchy like little vocal hooks, like when you know, like hi. I can't do it because my voice is fucked up today, but you know, like
yeah,
I don't know what it is. Every time I hear like this sort of note, I'm just like, oh, this song's so good.
But that happens when Whit Stewart's in the studio with me. If he's singing, I just sit and watch him kind of sing. He sounds like that when he's just singing, standing next to you. It's so good.
I should say too, because I am giggling at the fact that you were in the fetal position, but I completely sympathize with.
Yes.
I just realized now that could come across as me being a complete asshole.
No.
Like I have that too. Like I can't do things in front of people. Like sometimes they'll have synth events locally and go like, oh, you should like host it, you know. I'm just like, no, like I like being, you know, one-on-one with people. I like being out and social and stuff, but the second I'm like in front of a crowd, I know like in high school I won an award for something and all I had to do was go up and get it. Like, I didn't talk, you know, they're just like, oh, and Andy wins the art or whatever. I forget what it was. I think it was art or media arts or something.
You won the art.
Yeah, I just won art, basically. They just said, well, we might as well cancel art now because Andy's done it.
All the art.
Yeah.
Andy's won all the art.
he did it. Everyone just clapped and everyone left. There was no other awards. So I'm sitting there and I got so nervous, and I had like an anxiety that sort of awoke in me around high school that lasted for a long time. Like, I'm still trying to shake it now. Like, it happened. I kind of partially blame weed because like when I had my first panic attack when I was high, and then ever since then my brain was like, hey, panic attacks are a thing you can have.
Yeah.
And I didn't have them before then. Anyway. But yeah, like I'd get so nervous, like I couldn't move. My hands and feet went numb.
Oh no.
And I was like sitting in my chair and I was numb, but then I had this adrenaline burst the second I had to just go up there and grab the award. So like I still managed to do it, but...
Did you just run up there then?
I don't remember. It was just weird. Like up until that point, my hands were numb, like my body was like buzzing, and I didn't have to do anything. Like all I had to do was just walk and get a thing handed to me and walk away.
Yeah. I think that's quite common now because I'm like that too, in that these days in the music industry, especially there's quite a lot of synthwave artists like where you can kind of be a one-man band from home and not have to do anything or see anyone. Like you don't have to go and DJ relentlessly or play the tracks live to get away. You can just, if you wanted to, just be at home and do it, and no one really has. You don't have to have any promo shots and you don't have to have anything else, and you can still kind of get to where you want to go with it without having to do all the public stuff, which I think is quite appealing now to a lot of people.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it is fun to see people go out and actually do like live performance, but I appreciate that there's something nice about...
No, completely. I completely agree.
Look, let's listen to another song and then we'll keep talking. So I want to play this track off of the Cycles album.
Cool.
So here's a cool track. This is Afterglow by Duett. And that was Duett with the track Afterglow. And I'm here today with a return visit from Ben,
Hi.
Mr. Duett himself, and lovely vocalist Mr. Stewart Lockwood.
Hello.
And you guys are having a lovely day?
Lovely.
I don't know if that was a question or a statement.
A lovely English day.
It could be both.
I don't like to really say when I record this show, but we just had this really weird snowstorm because I'm in Toronto.
Yeah.
So it was ice, freezing rain, and it was like little tiny ice pellets, but really tiny. So when it snowed, it was like walking through sugar.
Oh.
That was the texture of the snow. Yeah, it was weird. It was just like fucking like a foot of sugar.
Yeah, okay. I've been there. That's the thing though about snow now is I really can't be bothered with it. You know, when you're young and you're like, this is, when it snows when you're young, you're kind of, this is it. Mm-hmm. I've been waiting for this kind of all year. This is it. Whereas now I'm like, oh, forget it.
Thank you for censoring yourself.
I'm thinking about my drive home. I'm thinking about, other stuff. Like,
I've got kids, and so there's still this aspect that being outside is fun, but it's not for me.
No, yeah.
It's all fucking slush and shitty. I'm done with it. Ben, I'll direct this question at you.
Yeah.
How you been?
Good.
Tell me about Cycles. Tell me about the album Cycles, because I think when we recorded last time, you had a few of the singles out, but not the the thing itself. So
I struggled a bit when I did Borderline. I quickly did, which was like 2015. I quickly did quite a few tracks for the next album, thinking like the following summer, release it. And then as I started working on the tracks, I started thinking, is this right? I kind of was unsure. Or then Stewart and I would sit and work on something, and it didn't at first flow as much as it did. And I thought I need to work something out here. Well, so what I did was I used to, I probably said this to you before, cycle a lot on my bike and listen to stuff and cycle along the coast and think of ideas and try and think of things. And that's why in Cycles you get quite a lot of the sound of waves and things like that. I kind of went down and thought, I don't know, just I needed to have something to focus on, and that was it. And then it quickly kind of started being finished at the beginning of last year when I spoke to you last. This time we're working on something else now. Ooh. It's kind of happening a lot quicker, I think, this time. So
how do you decide what is going to be a track that you present to Stewart?
My influences are either music that's kind of from like an advert or some library music or something, or 80s pop stuff. And sometimes a track will just come up, I think that just sounds like Stewart will sing on it. I mean, we've tried other tracks, Stewart and I, that we've tried ideas or whatever, hasn't worked, but normally I can hear the tracks that would just sound good with Stewart on. At the moment we're working on some that I've sent to Stewart where they just have a structure that sounds like Stewart would sound good on it. There are some tracks that sound a bit like Howard Jones. And Stewart, when he sings that falsetto, kind of like really reminds me of Howard Jones. I can suddenly hear this kind of thing I want to hear. I would say with Duett, the way I work on the tracks is if I don't like it, then I don't finish it, or it just doesn't get released or whatever. And so I say to Duett, if I ask people, whether it's the Duett artwork, the guy Forces Creative that does the artwork, or Stewart doing a vocal, I think I always just say, do your stuff, do your thing, do what you think's best. Otherwise there's no point in asking people to do things, I don't think. If I'm going to go, you sing it like this and you do that and you put that there and everything, I asked Stewart to do it because I want him to do his thing, because he knows what he's talking about.
Well, I don't, but
I
don't.
I look forward to the day where you hand him off a track and then Stewart comes back with like some freestyle rap.
It's just him in the fetal position singing some
rapping about eggs,
metal. Yeah.
That would be funny, though. It was just a joke. Well, look, how about this? Let's listen to another song. We're going to go back to Borderline, listen to Julianne.
Cool.
Because it's lovely. And then we'll talk about that. So this is Julianne by Duett featuring Stewart Lockwood. And that was Julienne featuring Stewart Lockwood by Duett. And I'm here with Duett right now, Ben and Stewart Lockwood.
Hi.
So look, Stewart.
Yes.
What's Julienne all about, man?
Do you know what? I knew I'd get asked this, and...
Shit, I wish I knew I was going to ask it.
Oh, really?
I'm in such a weird mood today. I don't know what's going on.
Me too.
It's because my voice is all fucked up, and so I feel like I'm in like this cheesy radio guy voice today, and so it's coloring everything that comes out of my mouth.
It's great. Just embrace it.
Tell me about your process.
What was the question? Oh, yeah. What is it about? I don't really want to tell people what they're about.
Ooh, secrets.
Well, and that comes off a bit dickish, I guess.
Yeah.
In some does it? Yeah. Oh shit.
No, you don't have to. I mean, is this about a real Julienne? Is that the problem? Is this about Julienne Moore?
It is about. It's about a couple, but I don't want to give details because hopefully I'd like people to take from it what they bring to it. When I write the lyrics, I always try and have like a surface meaning that people can kind of associate with, and like another layer that is very specific.
When you come up with lyrics, like, do they come from the real world?
That's a good question. Sometimes,
Thank you.
Sometimes I have a very specific fantasy scenario. That sounds weird, but
I fantasize about other couples all the time. Trust me.
no, not with that. Not with that. That's awkward. Not with that song, but others I've written about, like a weird science fiction scenario that I know in detail, but on the surface you could read into it that it's about a girl and a boy or whatever, or cheese or something. I don't know. So that's the way I kind of try and write. So there's two levels to it. It doesn't always come off, but...
I remember when we were doing it though, because I said Julienne was the last track I think I did on Borderline. Because I remember having a conversation where I've been listening to... I have a playlist of kind of like a mood board of tracks that I'm listening to when I'm doing something like that. And one of the tracks that came on was On the Beach by Chris Rea. And I said that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be it's summer, you know, but it sort of feels like that when you sing. That's why Stewart's good at those tracks, because they don't sound like the usual kind of commercial lyrics you'd normally hear. They just sound like songs that you could play on the piano or the guitar that just sound like from any period. They just happen that I produce them in that way.
I love the just the vocal melodies and all the tracks are just so catchy that even when I'm not picking up on like the individual words, like I just like the melodies and stuff. I think they're very nice.
I agree with you. That's not Stewart, that's me. That's Ben.
When Ben sends me the tracks, I will send him like a nonsense vocal with kind of weird words and sounds, but in the melody. And then, is that called scanning?
Don't know.
Isn't that when you blow somebody's head up with mental power?
That's what we do in the studio beforehand, just to warm ourselves up.
Yeah, so I send kind of nonsense words and sounds, and then I'd have to try and fit some kind of logic or...
You say that though, because I remember you sent me a voice note of Julienne. I think with Julienne, the backing track was probably playing in the background from something, and you were just singing into your phone.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could just hear that I liked it. Yeah, because I work with other people or on other tracks and stuff, and you get a lot of things where I just send you a voice and you think, well, maybe when we get in the studio and we record it properly, and maybe we put some reverb on it and da-da-da-da-da. But sometimes Stewart sends me stuff and I think, right, yeah, it's down to me to get it recorded properly, as opposed to trying to dress it up. He comes to my studio and we sit, and normally, I mean, we'll be completely set up, and we don't always have a lot of time either, so Stewart will come in and just sing the track. It's really professional. And just sing it from kind of start to finish. We definitely did with Julienne. And Julienne took a longer time because there's lots of backing vocals and stuff in it. But yeah, the track is just, if Stewart's written something good and we're sitting there and I've got to record it, I feel the pressure because I'm like, well, this only person that's going to fuck this up is me. Stewart's done his work, you know. When I'm producing it, trying to make him sound like he's singing in, like matches the backing tracks. You know, you get those tracks where it's an 80s sounding backing track, but then the vocal sounds really new and fresh. Because it's recorded now. I'm trying to make Stewart sound as bad as possible. No, as 80s as possible, you know.
Yeah.
What musicals were you in? You mentioned musicals.
Oh gosh, what was the first musical I was in? How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying.
What's that one about?
It's about a business. And I think there's a young chap who kind of climbs a corporate ladder. That could be nonsense. I could have just made that up. But there was a song about coffee, having a coffee break.
The difficulties of climbing the corporate ladder while also laying in the fetal position at the front of it.
Oh, yeah. And then I was in a musical called Viva Mexico, which no one's really heard of. And I played one half of a comedy duo, like a Mexican guy.
Is this one of those things that like wouldn't be allowed nowadays?
That's a good question. It's tricky.
Did you wear a sombrero?
Yeah, and I did like a really lame gag with a broom where I was kind of tripping over it or something. There was a scene where there was a woman changing and I came in and knocked something over and then had to pretend I was sleepwalking or something. It was like a strange Mexican farce.
Desperate to see this.
Yeah, that was another one I did. But funnily enough, the first musical I auditioned for at school, it was an open audition, so everyone watched everyone do their auditions, which is terrifying. And I remember turning up and everyone having sheet music for Andrew Lloyd Webber,
oh god,
for whatever. And someone said, "What are you singing?" And I'd said, "I'm singing a song from Transformers the movie, the soundtrack." And they were like, "What?" And I'd said, "Yeah, there's a song by this guy Stan Bush." And they were like, "Oh, okay." And then I felt like, "Oh no, I should have prepared an Andrew Lloyd Webber song."
So you sang You Got the Touch up there?
I think it was the other one, Dare, I think it was.
Dare!
That's it, yeah. I sang that, and there was a pianist in there, and he said, "Oh, have you got any music?" And I said, "Oh, no, I'm singing this song." And they were very surprised, I think, me singing Stan Bush, who I still love.
That's awesome.
So that was my first audition, singing that song.
And what happened?
I got kind of coffee boy number 2 in that musical.
I played Optimus Prime.
I played
Optimus Prime number 2.
I was playing Optimus Prime in my heart.
Well, look, that's really funny. Let's. I want to listen to another song, and then we'll keep talking.
Okay.
So here is another one from Cycles. Actually, we're pretty much all in Cycles territory now.
Cool.
And this is a track called Lifestyle. We're gonna listen to this right now, man. This is Lifestyle by Duett. And that was Duett with the track Lifestyle. And I'm here with Duett right now, Ben and Stewart Lockwood.
Hi.
Hi.
So, over the Christmas break, I built like a big Lego table.
Nice.
A listener sent me a big box of Lego, and I've sort of have this big collection. At one point in my life, I bought a really insane amount of Lego from someone who was selling it, and I made like a bin that's sort of like a sandbox. Like, it's just a big box. When I say I made, my dad did most of it.
Yeah.
I'm so not handy at all. I love the idea. I'm like 37 years old, and my dad's building things for me, and my dad is literally building me a Lego box. But it's great because it's like a sandbox, and it's like full of Lego.
That sounds great.
Yeah, that's that. And I also want to build an arcade machine. I've got a few little fucking side projects.
Out of Lego?
Yeah. That would be hilarious, actually.
You could make a little one with an iPad in it or something, couldn't you?
Yeah.
I never thought about that. A full-size one would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, all the components are so light now. It's like, you put an LED screen in there. Those things don't weigh anything, so it's not like it would be crushed under the weight.
You need to get your dad over.
Yeah.
What was your last Lego purchase?
I think we bought a few little kits for my son, but like he didn't really give a shit. Like he would play with them for a while, but
Kids these days.
Yeah. Like I think he likes it, but not in the same way that I did when I was that age.
Yeah.
Because he's always playing PlayStation, so it's like it's hard to compete. When I want to show him like, oh, play with this Lego, or meanwhile he could play Fortnite, and all the kids are playing Fortnite, and so it's all fucking Fortnite party.
Yeah.
So there was this guy who was about to have a kid, and I found this thing on Craigslist, and he was selling bags of Lego. It was 5 or 6 garbage bags full of Lego.
Wow. Amazing.
And it was a really satisfying purchase, although 1/5 of it turned out to be Bionicle.
Yes, I know it well.
And so that was a little disconcerting because is that the word? Disconcerting or disconcerting?
Disconcerting.
I mean,
both
work. If we understand what it means, then it's a word. It works.
Hey man, I like your attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when I talk to people now who say like, oh yeah, I've got a bunch of Lego, man, like you can have, and their definition of a bunch of Lego versus mine is completely different.
Yeah.
They'll come up with a fucking like ice cream tin full of Lego and like, look at all, I got a ton of Lego you can have. I'm like, dude, if you say you have a ton of Lego, I want a fucking garbage can full of Lego at least.
It's 5 sacks or nothing.
There's a specific sack to Lego ratio that's important to me. My life is completely divided into sack ratios. They're very important. But and I just like to build castles and spaceships. I don't know why. Why am I talking about this? Oh, because we mentioned Lego early on. Were you even recording at that point?
I derailed this onto Lego.
Well, no, I think I did.
Did you? Okay.
I'm not very good at hosting a show, but for some reason I still do it.
No, you are good at hosting a show. It's lovely talking about Lego.
Last time, Ben, when we were talking, because we talked a lot about sort of retro commercials and playing retro video games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what's been going on in that field? What have you been doing for fun in the meantime? Has anything changed?
What have I been doing? I've grown my collection since I spoke to you last.
Ooh.
Like I've got a little setup now at home where I've got quite a few consoles. I've got the new mini ones. I've got some other bits, and just collecting games. I follow so many accounts now on Instagram where people just have like stacks of NES games and stuff. And they're all kind of like piled up. I'm thinking, I want to do that. I'm wary there because I get into things really quickly where I'm like, I've got to collect all these things. And then about a month later, I think,
What I'm starting to realize now, because I have like a RetroPie, I do a lot of emulation for classic games. So like I don't have like the mini NES, but I've got like a RetroPie with a ton of games, obviously on my computer. But I'm having the same problem that I have with Netflix and all the other things where when there's too much choice, it sort of eliminates what makes the thing special.
Yeah, completely.
I'm not a purist, so I don't need to play a Super Nintendo using an old CRT screen, or I'm fine playing emulated, and especially since like GoldenEye is like my favorite thing, and I play that emulated because I can play it in high definition with PlayStation controllers and stuff.
Yeah.
But what I'm realizing now is I think there's still something special about the individual consoles.
Yeah.
I think my ultimate nerd room would be, there would be a Super Nintendo, but inside it would be a computer.
Yeah.
And it would be emulating just Super Nintendo games, but it wouldn't do anything else on purpose. Because now, since all the emulating things, you require no power and no memory, and you can have a little tiny chip that's got like every single Super Nintendo game and Genesis game or Mega Drive for you Europeans.
Yeah.
That it just ends up being like Netflix, where I just cycle through a list instead of actually playing something.
I completely agree. I do the same with records. As I went through a phase where if I want to find a record I wanted to have something on vinyl, and a lot of the vinyl I buy is just because it's something from the 80s or something I just want to have to own rather than I want to listen to records. And people go, you can just get it on eBay, you can get that wherever. And I always want to go, I want to try and find it. I want to try and see if I can get, every time I go somewhere, there's a few records. I want to see if I can find it. I've kind of done that with games. I know that nowadays there's a few more places that have popped up that sell old games. Instead of just going on eBay or going wherever and going, right, I'm going to get this one, I'm going to get that one. I want to kind of browse through them and collect them. And I have bought quite a few recently and played them and tried to just kind of go, on Friday I'm going to get a game and I'm going to sit on Friday night and play it. I mean, it's probably just nostalgia, because that's what I would have done. I rented a game from Blockbuster or whatever and gone home and played it over the weekend, Yeah. But I like that kind of vibe because then you have to stick to it, don't you?
I always thought the cool future would be to have some little cube that has every single thing in it.
Yeah.
And now I feel like the opposite. I want to build like an arcade unit, but I don't want to have the front end where you can pick every single arcade game ever. Like my ideal thing would be to have maybe like 3 or 4 arcade units and one of them is just fighting games. So you still have a choice, but it's not everything. It's like this machine is just Mortal Kombats and Street Fighters, and then this machine is Streets of Rage and Brawlers and things like that. And because I don't mind a bit of choice, but when it gets too crazy, that's been my problem, is like I'm just not enjoying any of the media that I've been collecting.
No, completely. I think it's the same with, I don't know if you ever go to anywhere that has arcade games in it, where you've got that set selection of games that you can play and you can kind of really get into them. There's a couple of places in London where I go and play games sometimes and you can kind of go back and then they have the high scores and stuff. I mean, you can really get into the individual game rather than having 500 games on one machine where they just kind of throw away and you pay them for 10 seconds and you think, oh, there's probably something better than this.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, like all I do on Netflix, like I don't watch anything on Netflix. I spent 10 minutes trying to find something to watch in the background.
I do that at lunch.
I just wanted something literally so that out of the corner of my eye, I would see a moving image on the screen.
Like Company.
And it still took 10 minutes. And I ended up watching like fucking Friends or something. Like I don't even really like Friends, but like that's what I landed on because I'm like, well, I don't want it to be a movie I haven't seen. Well, I don't really want it to be a horror film. That'd be weird. And then I end up going through this whole list of documentary. And it's like, no, I don't want to know fucking Ted Bundy in the background. And it just pisses me off.
I thought about that with YouTube playlists where you could just set a playlist, set it up for a day and it's got compilations of commercials in between and it's got different interviews or it's got other bits and pieces in there and then just share out that playlist and go, this is the TV for today, There's probably someone really young listening going, oh, God, like, we've been doing this for years. I remember talking to a guy about 2 years ago going, one day you're about to have a whole music collection on something that's the size of a packet of cigarettes. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that already exists.
Well, look, let's listen to another song. We are going to go to this lovely song called Don't Make Me Wait, featuring Stewart Lockwood, because Stewart's been quiet over there. Is he still there?
I'm knitting.
Okay. So we're gonna listen to this and then talk about it, because this song is very, very good. This is Don't Make Me Wait by Duett featuring Stewart Lockwood.
Mind's made up. There is no doubt. I'm punching in paint and checking out the things I've seen here. They weigh me down. Make amends, but how?
Then that was Don't Make Me Wait by Duett featuring Stewart Lockwood. And I'm here with Duett right now, Ben and Stewart Lockwood.
Hi.
Hi.
Tell me about this track. This is like one of my favorite tracks from last year, man. I listened to this song a lot.
Wow, cool.
Wow, thank you. We were just talking about this track not less than an hour ago. And for me, the lyrics and the melody came really late, and I really struggled with how to sing it, and just thought it wasn't, whatever I was coming up with wasn't working. And literally the day before, it kind of clicked in. My only way of knowing whether something's right is whether it kind of clicks in. That's the only terminology I can use. But yeah, it kind of clicked in the day before. It's one of those that's got a very specific, weird story attached to it that I don't want to give out. But it's odd and kind of childish and a bit sci-fi.
Okay.
But you are.
Like me, yeah. Yeah.
Well, listen, man, it's fucking really good.
Thank you.
I'm always picturing how I would use it if I was like directing a movie. Like that's usually what music does to me personally.
Yes, same.
When a song hits me in a particular way, I'm just like, oh, this would be so cool in this scene or whatever. And for some reason, listening to this song inspired me to start writing a Streets of Rage knockoff movie.
Really?
Cool.
But here's why, though. I'll explain. Whenever they do video game adaptations, they're always bad because they never really focus on the actual elements of the game. They try and add all this extra shit. They try and overcomplicate it. Like, you know, a lot of movies now are kind of overcomplicated, especially like the Hollywood ones.
Yes.
You know, it's like there's always like 80 double crosses and the movies are 3 hours long. And sometimes I think, why am I being held back my imagination with intellectual IPs or whatever? Like, if I want to write a Streets of Rage movie, and I go, oh, I can't because, you'd never get the rights to it. But then I started thinking, like, well, what is Streets of Rage? It's 3 undercover cops who fight across a couple streets, some punks with green mohawks.
Chains.
And then they go up to the penthouse, and there's a guy with a white suit and a machine gun, and they kick him out the window. Like,
right.
That's what it is. And so I'm like, well, you can't copyright that.
No.
And so I started thinking about that context for everything, going like, well, I could do a Golden Axe. I could write a Golden Axe script, and it's called fucking Silver Sword. I mean, like, and then it still has the dynamic, because at the heart of it, being like a video game nerd and a fantasy nerd and sci-fi, there's a lot of things that are very basic things. Like, I don't need a 3-hour movie. I need a movie that's like whatever the minimum a feature-length film can be, like 1 hour and 14 minutes or whatever the hell it is. Some classic movie where it's just a bunch of people getting revenge. They beat up a bunch of people. The movie's an hour long. It's just a string of fight scenes, and at the end they kick a guy out the window, and like that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And so I came up with a storyline to justify what's going on, and so it would still have the same dynamic of Streets of Rage, right? There's 2 guys and a girl.
Yeah.
The girl's motivation would be that like her cop friend, at the start there'd be this scene that like where it's the catalyst for all the main characters, right? Like this guy's partner gets killed, this other person's family gets threatened or their house blows up, and then the girl has like this relationship with this cop in the office, but then he gets killed in this raid or whatever. And then this song is the song that plays close to the end of the movie before they go to their final fight.
Oh, right.
Where the 3 of them meet up in the warehouse where everything went down at the start of the film and all their friends were killed and stuff. And it's got like the moonlight coming in.
Yeah.
So it's all lit kind of blue. They're basically like asserting like that they have to go and do their final battle with the dude. And then the other guys come in and they're like, hey man, we gotta do this thing. And so it's sort of like emotional, but it's also building to the climax of the film. And that literally is what came to my head when I listened to this song. I cannot explain why.
Don't question it.
Because like
that's amazing.
Lyrically, I don't know that connects, but it's like it's the mood of the thing. Like I just picture these 3 people who are just there, and they're just sort of like reminiscing, and there's like a sadness to it, but there's also an energy building as well that like this is going somewhere.
Is this the bit in lots of stories and films? There's a section towards the end called the all is lost moment, where the hero is comes to term with the fact that they can't complete their goal.
Well, those are my favorite, when it all goes in slow motion and then like the orchestra
all goes
comes
wrong
in
towards the end.
Aragorn's getting stepped on by that troll, and they're like, oh, if Frodo doesn't put that ring in the fucking thing, man, they're doomed.
Exactly, right? Or in all the Rocky films, someone gets ill. right? That's what happens. It's true. Like the trainer got ill, and then his wife, but then there's a moment after that where the trainer or his wife says, "You can do it," and then the montage kicks in, and they kind of go for that last final stretch. So it sounds like that's what you mean. It would come there.
Yeah. If I ever get off my ass and actually like make any of these projects, they would be very influenced by the music. You know, when you watch certain movies and like, this movie's okay, but it's the soundtrack that's fucking elevating it. This is an example of that.
Yeah.
Where like literally this song playing would like make anything awesome.
Oh, cool.
But it's so weird. Like, it's weird when those ideas strike you, because when I say them out loud, I feel foolish, but I'm like, why on earth this song inspired me to write a fucking Streets of Rage ripoff movie? Like, of all things, like, why? But it just, you know.
It can happen the other way, though, because I've seen when I'm doing tracks and thinking of scoring a film like you've already seen, like a real film, just thinking about a moment in that film it could sit. I've done that with a few duet tracks. With Running Scared, when I first did it, was an instrumental. There's a specific part of a film that I just kept thinking I wanted it to fit in, and this is going to sound really weird. There's a bit in, Weird Science. There's a part when, after all the stuff's happened in the house and they're with their girlfriend, they're taking the girls back to their houses. Do you remember they've got the girlfriends at the end?
In the Ferrari and
the Ferrari and the Porsche are going back to take them to their house. Like, I was just thinking of that.
Right.
I was just thinking of that scene, thinking it's a kind of John Hughes, like it's all kind of settling down. It's a bit more kind of aspirational. It's kind of, that's all done. I was thinking of that when I was doing, I know it sounds ridiculous, but I wanted it to fit into that scene there.
Yeah.
And it's useful to get those kind of inspirations from things, because then you can get a visual, either if you're thinking of music for a film or you're doing, film for music, it helps to get you inspired for it, doesn't it?
That's when I know something's good, like when it really hits me. That's why when I see people who review music, but they do it with like a numerical score or like this album is a B.
Yeah.
I never could do that, because music to me is all about like a feeling.
Yeah.
And if I ever reviewed music and had like a blog where I was reviewing music, I don't listen to a song and go, well, that's a 67%. Like, my brain doesn't do that, but I'll listen to a song and go, this would be wicked in a fight scene.
Yeah.
Or this song would be awesome for like the couple are like walking on the beach, and this is the song that's fucking playing right before the credits roll, or this is the thing at the beginning when the dude's getting his new car and blah, blah. Like it'll move me to a specific emotion, and then I would say, here's the emotion I feel when I listen to this stuff.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Look, the point is this: the song's great. Right? I listen to this song a lot.
Thanks.
Thank you. Do you think if you grew up on a desert island and you hadn't seen any television or film, but you heard some music like that, then you would picture like a film scene? Do you know what I mean? If you hadn't seen it, will that still evoke these images?
Good question, because obviously a lot of my visual vocabulary comes from things I've seen.
Yeah.
When people do like movie pitches and stuff, it's mostly like, it's fucking Beetlejuice meets Batman. Like they have to say things in order for people to understand.
Yeah.
And I guess it's like the real visionaries are the people who walk in and go like, I can't explain this, but give me 300 million and you'll see something,
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah, it doesn't really go anywhere though, does it? It's kind of...
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would require me to put myself in a place that's like just a completely different life.
Yeah,
If I lived in some isolated tribe where they've never seen a TV, I mean, if someone walked in with a light bulb, would I freak out?
Yeah, exactly.
I would. I do now.
Yeah.
Light bulbs terrify me.
Me too.
I don't go outside. I like to record in the dark. Let's listen to another song, and then we'll keep talking. This is another one I dug off the album. This is So Material by Duett. And that was So Material by Duett. And I'm here with Duett right now, Ben and Stewart Lockwood.
Hello.
So you guys are writing new stuff right now?
Yep.
Cool.
We are. We weren't going to. It's weird because I'd started thinking after I did Cycles, I was thinking, oh, that's it now. Not that's it forever, but 3 Duett albums now. It's kind of quite a lot of tracks. And so I thought I need something to keep me entertained, or like a concept or something just to kind of get me going. One of the first concepts I did was I'm just going to use synths or VST synths from a specific year.
Right.
I can't use anything else like 1988 or whatever and just do some tracks. So I did a few tracks like that in December, which just they all ended up sounding like Pet Shop Boys. Right. It's just really hard to move away from that kind of sound, which I sent Stuart's had a look at those, and then the last couple of weeks just been doing a few kind of backing tracks and some stuff, and Stuart's been sending back some really good vocals and stuff, so we're going to see how we get on. So there's never a kind of time limit on anything. If it happens, then it happens.
What's this Alpine stuff about?
That was another kind of... When I made Horizons, the first Duett album, I gave myself a load of strict rules about how I could do it. So I said, right, you've got that drum machine, then 2 synths, what I might have had if I was making music in the 80s, and you've got to make an album just using that stuff. And then as Duett's gone on, I've used loads more stuff. But I thought, I want to see if I can make an EP just like that. I'm going to limit myself to one sort of drum machine, 2 or 3 synths, got it quite quickly. And as I was doing it, it sounded kind of 80s, but it doesn't sound like Duett to me.
Right.
Having said that, since it's been released, everyone says, yeah, it just sounds like Duett. Yeah. But I had slightly different, maybe darker sort of style. And I thought, let's do something else.
The idea of sticking to specific synths kind of ties into this whole thing when I was talking about before about, the Netflix and having too many choices and being sort of
it's exactly that. It's
frozen
exactly
by the
that.
choices. Yeah, like if you already know, this is what my bass line is going to be, like it's one of 2.
Yeah. If you listen to Purple Rain or an album like that, it sounds like they made it on the same day with all the same stuff and the rest, it sounds like it was all made really just using a few bits they had. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to try and do that. So what would I actually have if I was in the 80s? If it's expensive, I might have, maybe 3 or 4 synths, drum machine. The limitations, like you were saying before about the games and about things that kind of give you more of a vision of where you're going to go, what you're going to do. They make the decisions for you.
And I guess too, it also allows you to focus more on the actual music itself, like just instead of cycling and hitting one note and cycling for like 4 hours.
Yeah, completely. I really like that. I need little hooks like that to make me creative. Otherwise, I just get really bogged down in, maybe I will flick through, 50 more kick drums.
Yeah.
What's it like in Canada at the moment?
At the moment.
Yeah. That's a really broad question, isn't it?
Yeah, it's cold. It's not super cold today. Last week was insane. It was like -40 and shit.
Yeah.
Degrees Celsius. Do you know what the difference between Celsius and centigrade is?
I think it's the same thing, isn't it?
Why is there 2 words then? Like whenever I watch Planet Earth, and like David Attenborough, and he's like talking about how cold stuff is, and it's like, and it goes between 42 centigrade, and I'm like, so is centigrade the same fucking thing? Like, why are you saying centigrade?
I don't think anyone say centigrade for years. It sounds like a really old-fashioned thing. They used to say on the weather and stuff here.
Well, David Attenborough does.
He's a law unto himself, that man.
Yeah. Maybe he's just making shit up.
Where does he get off?
Yeah.
So how far through this Streets of Rage screenplay are you?
I have a bunch of projects that I'll never be able to make because I never have like the podcast takes up my whole week. Like it's my work week because I had a robot show I wanted to do. So that was Circuit and Breaker, but that was like science fiction and it was the guy in a robot suit and stuff.
Nice.
And then I started thinking, well, there's got to be some projects that I can do that are a bit more reasonable, like where it's just humans in it. So at least that saves me the logistics of costumes and all the special effects and stuff. Yeah. And I've always wanted to do like a Streets of Rage. Like I love Streets of Rage. I love a lot of retro video games and for some reason it was your damn song. Like I was just like, I was like, well, why does it need to be Streets of Rage? You know, because what's compelling about this story to me is that there's these three characters. If I cast the movie, I would make them look exactly the same as the game.
Sure.
Because it's the visual stuff that I attach to. So when I think of Star Wars, for example, and I think of like sort of what they've done to that franchise now, and they're trying to make it about other things, and at the heart of it, I'm like, no, this is really simple. It's like guys in cool masks and spaceships with lasers and laser swords. Like that's what this is. It's not deeper than this. A lot of the reasons why I liked those things when I was a kid was for those reasons. You know, as a kid, it's like, I like Darth Vader. Why? Because he has a cool mask, he's dressed all in black with a cape, and he's got a fucking red lightsaber. Like, that's why I like him.
Yeah.
When it comes to doing like an adaptation of a game or something, I just think like, well, what are the elements I like about this? And with Streets of Rage, it's just the visual style and the mood, what the music was like, and how that sort of set the mood, like that early '90s techno soundtrack, and the idea of like kind of fighting bosses. You know, like you're fighting through these punks, but then every few minutes, you know, in the story, there's going to be a really tough dude that, you know, it takes all three of them to beat and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. And so I thought, well, like, it doesn't need to be Streets of Rage. It can just be three but I would have them look the same. So I would still have the girl wearing latex fucking mini skirt thing that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And then like cast them so they all look like the characters, and then just call it something else.
Yeah.
And I like the idea, you know, beating up people on the streets and then having to go to the penthouse at the end, where the final boss is always like in the penthouse, you know, where you have to like, the level 7 is always riding an elevator up to the last boss.
Yeah.
Where you have to fight some of the original people again. Like some of the bosses from like level 2 and 3 come back, but they're just like regular guys now that you have to fight on your way to the... Anyway, sorry.
That sounds great.
It's like, have you seen The Raid?
Yes. No, see, that's an example of simple...
It was like a video game, wasn't it?
Yeah, and The Raid is obviously like, the choreography in those movies are amazing, but like, the simplicity of it is what I love. Like, that's an inspiration, and just stories don't need to be complicated. It's like the first fucking 10 minutes, everybody's friends get killed, someone gets kidnapped, and then for the rest of the next hour, they're just getting them back, and then they get them back, and then the credits roll. Like, there's no thing at the end where it's like, hey, it turns out I was working with the bad guys the whole time. Like, hey, we trusted you. Like, I don't need that shit. Like, it happens in every movie now. Like, I almost to the point where anytime I watch a movie now and there's a character who's like really cool and nice, it's like, well, he's gonna turn because he's the nice guy, so they're gonna fucking flip it at the end where he's bad, and we're gonna be surprised because he was nice. But now it's like, every movie does that. Like, it would be more of a plot twist if the asshole guy turned out to be the bad guy, because you're like, I'm actually genuinely surprised because this twist... Anyway, that's why I've been really enjoying watching bad movies lately.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the reason is that they actually surprise me, because bad, incompetently made films do things incorrectly, but in a way it's more surprising because I'm not expecting it. Like, most of the films I watch are like competently made. So when I watch a bad movie, it's surprising to me, because I'll be like, oh yeah, like they'll introduce a character and then kill them in a way where like, well, that doesn't work story-wise, but at the same time you're like, I didn't see it coming though, because that's an error in filmmaking, and so I love that stuff almost more now.
I watched a film called Dreamscape a couple of months ago that was out in the 80s. Have you seen it?
No.
Dennis Quaid is the protagonist in it. There's some kind of science experiment which allows people to enter people's dreams. And I remember watching it. I went to America when I was about 10 and stayed in a motel, and remember it being on TV in the motel. I wasn't really supposed to watch it, but saw little clips of it, and I thought, I wonder what that's like, and I quite enjoyed it when I watched it again.
Because it was bad, or because it was good?
Because it was bad, but
interesting.
But interesting as well.
There's so many 80s films I haven't seen. And so like I really like movies from that time, but there's a ton I haven't seen where like when I admit them out loud, I don't like to, because the nature of this show, I think sometimes people assume that I know more stuff than I do. And it's so great to see those movies that I haven't seen before, because I get to discover them. They're new to me, but they have the, they're not filmed on digital, like they're not super crisp, and they oftentimes have these fun like scores I haven't heard, and this is awesome discovering them again. Or maybe we should listen to another track. So Ben, what's another track on Cycles that you think we should listen to?
Brochure.
You want to listen to Brochure?
Go with that one, yeah.
All right, man. Well, here is Brochure by Duett. All right, and that was Brochure by Duett. And that's a cool track, and I'm here with Duett right now, Ben and Stewart, and we're just talking about nerdy stuff.
Nerdy stuff. There's a cinema in London called the Prince Charles Cinema, and they show 80s movies on film.
Yeah.
They show Aliens, and you can watch it with that kind of 80s sound. So it's not crisp.
And the crackles on the screen.
And the crackles on the screen, and it really takes you back to
that's cool.
Watching that on VHS. Yeah, it's great. It's great. That and Big Trouble in Little China.
It's in Leicester Square. It's right in the centre of London, yeah.
I don't like the way Leicester is spelt.
Leicester, yeah. Leicester. Strange, isn't it?
When I was a kid, because I watched like Doctor Who is my favorite show, so
cool.
And there was some pronunciations that always confused the shit out of me, and one of them was Lieutenant.
Yes, Lieutenant. Have you seen the new Doctor Who series?
Some of it. I'm not. I haven't actually liked the show in the past like 5 or so years.
Yes. Who's your favourite Doctor?
Well, Tom Baker.
Yes, good man.
Well, I like the old show, but the old show is weird weird and special and unique, and it's science fiction. Like, I just feel like the past 5 or so years, the show became kind of like fantasy.
Yes.
Like, it was a lot of talking about like prophecies and people getting resurrected all the time, and it was really bouncy and silly, and it was almost like they were masking the fact that the stories didn't make sense by telling them out of order and stuff. And I just like straightforward science fiction, like classic Doctor Who episodes. It's like, you know, they have their own flaws, be like the budget, and a lot of them are too long. Like, a lot of them you could trim like 2 hours and you still like get the gist of it. But, you know, they were straightforward adventure, and when the villain was dead, the story was done. You know, it was like there's Doctor Who episodes that literally end like credits roll like seconds after the villain is dead, and the Doctor just turns around, it's like, oh well, the Mara is destroyed, roll credits. And then new Doctor Who, it's like the bad guy doesn't even get a chance to develop a motivation before they're killed, so the Doctor can have like a heart-to-heart with his friends for like 20 minutes. It's fine, I guess, but it's not what I want from what I like about the show. Like, I like science fiction stories, and the new show just wasn't telling those sorts of stories. It's like science fiction stories are not the priority of that show anymore. There's
a great series of episodes with Tom Baker, and apologies to the Whovians. Is it the Whovians out there?
Fuck them
if I get this wrong, but he is forced to have a companion. Is it Romana?
Romana 1, because she regenerates later on.
That's right, and he doesn't want a companion, and then they go on a series of quests for things over like 3 or 4 episodes. I hope I've got that right.
Yeah, that was the Key to Time season.
That's it, and it's a great bunch of episodes. It's set up well, and it's wonderful. I haven't told many people this, but when I was at primary school, so 6 or 7
years ago,
many hundreds of years ago, I used to imagine I was Doctor Who in the playground.
No.
But just with myself, I was the only one playing this game. And I took my dad's tire pressure gauge.
Are you fucking kidding me?
And that was my sonic screwdriver.
Dude, I did the same fucking thing.
Really?
I did the exact same thing.
Wow. That's amazing.
I'll go fucking even nerdier than that. I actually did have one friend who liked Doctor. I grew up in a small town, so the idea of liking Doctor Who was a weird quirk of mine, right? Because no one else did. Everyone was terrified of it, because we had public TV or whatever that played them, and everyone, when the music started and the Doctor's face like zoomed into the screen, like it just terrified people.
So good.
So I would do that, and I had one other friend, and they had some episodes where like multiple Doctors would meet up. And so when I played with another friend, like we could each be like different incarnations, and I had my dad's fucking tire pressure thing, and that was the sonic screwdriver. Because it was the closest looking thing to a sonic screwdriver.
Me too. I scoured his toolbox, and I don't think he knew I had it. But people, the kids must have been looking at me thinking, what is he doing? He's kind of running about, talking to himself.
Checking pressure.
Yeah, because when I would play, a lot of my friends would play War, like that was the game, right, where they're all army men. And so I would always be the scientist. That was my way out, so I'd be like, I'm the scientist guy. He still shot guns, but like he, and I would always choose those sorts of characters. It's like when Terminator 2 came out, I would be the T-1000. My buddy would be Arnold. And I always liked it because the T-1000 was like smaller, but he still had the strength to throw Arnold around, so it still like made sense. And
you wrapped yourself in tin foil.
Yeah, but the stupidest thing I ever did, and I remember my teacher was just like, what are you doing? Like, for some reason, some fucking religious group came into our school and gave us all little Bibles. These little red Bibles, okay? And I'm not really a Bible guy, but there was this episode of Doctor Who. It was called Paradise Towers. It was like it was when the show started to kind of not be good. There was like these caretakers who were in this building, and there was these killer robots. It's a really cheesy episode. But then these caretaker guys, they all have this rule book, and they walk around with a rule book, and that was like a plot line, was just like they only do things that are in the rule book. And so I was on the playground playing with this stupid Bible, saying it was the rule book from this episode, because the Doctor steals one off a guy, and he's like looking at it to like trick them and stuff. And then the teacher was just like, why are you like playing with a Bible? And I was like, yeah, you're right. And then I stopped.
I haven't stopped. doing, I'll sometimes be on the street.
We don't talk about this often, like about the characteristics people absorb. Like I watch a lot of stand-up comedians, and they'll talk about how, when they first start, they're sort of doing an impression of somebody, and then they eventually find themselves.
Yes.
For me, there's a lot of things I watched when I was a kid, comedians or shows or whatever, that certain mannerisms and certain things have actually like worked their way into my actual character, like as a person. Yeah. So like some of my sense of humor, it's not me. Like one of my favorite comedians when I was a kid, I've sort of absorbed some of his mannerisms into my being. Mm-hmm. So some people will catch it when I'll joke around, and they'll be like, "Oh, like you're doing this person." I'm like, "No, like this is me. Like this is who I am." Yeah. And there's certain mannerisms I've just absorbed from like Doctor Who as well. Like just certain ways like Tom Baker would say certain sentences or weird facial expressions he would make in reaction to stuff, and then like I will do those naturally because it's like that's how you react to this sort of weird situation. And my wife got me like a full-on Tom Baker scarf knitted. That is
amazing.
Well, it's too big because like, he's a big guy,
yes,
and I'm not a big guy. Like I'm like 5'9", and so if you actually have a scarf that's made the same dimensions as the one he wore, it's like a fucking sleeping bag. Like you can just wrap it all the way around it, and it's wide too. It's really wide.
Yeah.
So it's like a foot wide and then like fucking 20 feet long or something, and so it's cool though. It's a cool thing to have, I guess.
Amazing.
With your Bible and your screwdriver.
Yeah, dude, everyone will hate this. Like, because I always bring up I like Doctor Who, but then, like, no one takes the bait.
I took that bait.
Because once it happens, then I'll end up talking for too long about Doctor Who, and then, like, fuck. And the audience, like, does not have it. There's a few Star Trek fans. Like, I started watching some old Star Trek, and there seems to be more Star Trek fans that are, like, happy to hear about that. But when it comes to Doctor Who, it's like, no.
Yeah.
People...
You should be talking about music, shouldn't we?
Well, we'll get carried away here. So let's listen to that track you did with Raph. We should probably hear that, right? That's a fun track.
Yeah, go for it.
So we'll listen to that right now. This is Duett with the track Paradise featuring Raph.
Baby, now I realize
And that was Paradise featuring Raf by Duett. And I'm here with Duett right now. And Stewart Lockwood.
Hello.
Who is Raf?
I did a remix for another project of something he'd done a vocal on, which he liked. He's not done any stuff that sounds really kind of like Duett, but when I started working on the album, I was like, look, I've got this kind of soulful Duett track that I'm working on. Do you want to try working on something for it? And he sent it over and I really liked it. So he's got a really, really soulful voice. And I just thought it's a different kind of vibe, but it still sounds like Duett, I think.
Did you punch him in the face, Stewart?
He's dead. Yeah. He's dead now. He's under the tarmac.
Which was unfortunate, but you know.
Hey, man.
Has to happen. No, he's got a lovely, lovely voice, and I couldn't do that. I've got no soul.
God.
Yeah, I had a fight with Shang Tsung, and he stole mine, which was
nice.
Which was too bad. Like, when I saw that green glow shoot out of my body, I knew that my life trajectory was going to be very different. Well, look, we can probably start to wind this down, but is there something we haven't talked about that you wanted to talk about?
Do you want to take us through Julianne again, Stuart?
But one of these days we'll have a pure Doctor Who conversation. One of these days,
I would love that.
At the what do you call it when people don't want you to do something? Like the other people at the not the behest, because that would mean they demanded it, right?
To the detriment.
Yeah.
To the detriment of our
of the three people who listen to the show, it will be to their detriment.
Yes.
And three of those people will probably be us.
Yeah, we're the three.
But look, man, or guys, the new album is great.
Thank you.
I guess it's not really the new album anymore, but I dig it a lot. There's a lot of really awesome songs on here and people should check out.
Thank you.
I look forward to hearing more collaborations from you guys, and also to check out Alpine as well, right?
Yeah, thanks. That'd be great, yeah.
There's lots of stuff. I think I played one a few weeks ago, so.
You did, yeah. Thanks for that.
It was a good track. I actually forgot it was you.
So did I.
That happens all the time where I have a playlist of all these tracks and I'm like, oh, Alpine, that's right. I got this sent to me and I'll play a track. And then when I was doing the links, so once I play a track and then I go through and gather all the artist links and I'm like, what the fuck is It's Modal? And I'm looking at Modal Records or something and I'm like, okay. And then I just see wait, is this fucking Duett? I completely forgot.
Oh no, it's confusing. It's my fault. It's confusing.
Well, the thing is, because I get messages from people and they send me music, but then I often don't get to it because I don't do this show here are the top 5 songs of the week. Someone will send me music and I don't end up playing it for a year. I'm just disorganized.
That's cool though, because I've heard stuff in your show that I thought this sounds cool, and I've looked and it's quite old. It's a couple of years old. I've just discovered quite a few tracks from your show like that.
My premise is that it's new to somebody.
Yeah.
But so let's I don't know, we'll wrap up. Do you want to say some goodbye stuff? Maybe each of you can say
a closing monologue.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. A pleasure talking to you. I hope people have got something from it. Yeah, thank you for listening, everyone, to us go on about nerdy stuff and music. And I just wanted to say, if people do want to make music or write a screenplay or whatever, just have a go, because it's like the end of He-Man, isn't it? This is kind of the thought for the day. Yeah, because I spent years thinking I can't do that. I have no, experience or whatever. Just have a go. If you enjoy it, just have a go, because I can't play anything or I can't read music, but it's just the sheer enjoyment of listening to this type of music and listening to Ben's stuff that made me want to have a go. So just have a go, and if it's crap, don't worry. That's what I would say.
So these are the life affirmations of Stewart Lockwood.
Yes.
Well, listen, man, you've got a lovely voice, and I enjoy listening to when you guys collab, because they're all good. I don't think there's a bad one.
Yeah, thank you. That's really kind.
Yeah.
How about you, Ben? Do you have some life affirming?
Absolutely not. No, apart from just a second what Stuart said. Just have a go. I also can't read music and just sit and do stuff. And also, Duett is me doing something that I like. So you can if you do something you like, but no one else is really into it, it doesn't matter, as long as you got something you like. And that's what Stuart and I do. We're just trying to do something that we would both enjoy. And luckily, other people then seem to enjoy it too. And I would say that's the most important thing. Do something that you like.
Yeah, and thank you to the people who have made nice comments, who have given us nice comments. made
Thanks
the
to
right
the people that have made nice.
Made nice. Yeah, who've heard the music and have been so positive. It's just lovely to hear, like Ben said, that people enjoy it.
Not to take your talent for granted, but there is something nice about the comfort of going like, yeah, this is good, and I knew it was going to be good, and it was, and it made me happy. And then there's a nice little surprise in there when Stewart's beautiful voice comes through, and then it's another song where I'm like, holy shit, fucking repeat.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
So you guys have a lovely day.
You too.
And keep on trucking. Oh, God.
That's good, man. Keep on trucking yourself.
Every so often I bring that one out, and I'm always surprised when it comes out of my mouth.
No, it's a good one.
I like the keep on trucking yourself as well.
I guess it sort of has a different connotation when you say it that way.
Yeah.
Keep on trucking yourself, you fucking bastard.
Trucking yourself, silly.
Jog on. All right, well, all right, guys. Well, listen, you take care, and when you make some more music, come back on the show, man. We'll talk about it.
Will do. Thank you.
Will do. Take care.
Awesome. We did it.
Thanks. That was brilliant.
Yay.
All right, and that was my conversation with Duett and Stewart Lockwood. Thank you very much for listening to the show, and tune in next time. I know some of you have sent me song requests, and I'm aware of them, and I will get to them. There was a whole bunch of tracks I had to play this week, and obviously I don't want this show to end up being like 4 hours long, so just know that I am aware of your requests, and I will get to them in upcoming episodes. You are all awesome, and thank you for listening to the show. Hope you all have a lovely week, and tune in next time to Beyond Synth, the best synthwave chat show there is. Now get out of here!
Thanks for listening. This was Beyond Synth. No more show today. Now shut up, the robot lady's got something to say.
If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting it by going to patreon.com/BeyondSynth or visit beyondsynth.com and click on Support the Show. Beyond Synth is made possible by the awesome Patreon supporters. Don't forget to follow Beyond Synth on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, and Stitcher. Live broadcasts can be heard weekly on Twitch at twitch.tv/beyond_synth. Have a lovely week.